Hey internet friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindsay Lijo. Hello, glad to have you here on this space of the internet with me. So today we're going to be talking about INTJs and emotional conflict, the rather strange paradox that exists here. And if you'd like to talk to me personally about this subject or anything else related to type and the cognitive functions, my link for Snug is down below. You can book a one-on-one video session with me. So let's get started with this video. So the strange paradigm that comes from INTJs and conflict starts with the fact that we are relatively fearless when it relates to conflict around something that is logical, and on the other hand, we are scared, yes, I said scared, of conflict that is emotionally charged, driven, or based. Conversations that have even the slightest hint of emotional escalation, forget about it. The INTJ has literally or metaphorically left the building. We're out. Now with our NI and TE functions, introverted intuition, extroverted thinking, we tend to be relatively good debaters. AP, bioengineering debate team, no big deal. I killed it up there. But seriously, a good debate gets me going. If I have the energy for it, I love being able to go and solve an argument in a way that can't be objectively disproved. My savior functions and INTE are getting their dopamine. Everything is good. That being said, the fear of emotional conflict will cause INTJs to be avoidant, and they will be dismissive of their own feelings and also relatively ignorant of yours. Of course, everyone can do everything. Self-growth is an amazing tool that can be applied. People can grow past these things, but we're talking about default nature and kind of what our brains will try, if they can, to tune back to. All right, so why is this? Well, essentially there are two functions that are the culprits here as it relates to this disdain for emotional conflict for the INTJs. And that is the SE function and the FE function. We don't want to be around the chaos in reality, SE, of the emotional spectrum, FE. So INTJs have SE last in their 4 function stack, and we don't have access to FE. In socionics, it would be our polar function. All right, so let's talk about the problem that this causes for you. Since we fear your unbridled emotions in reality, the chaos that causes, chances are that we won't bring up certain subjects simply because we don't want to deal with your reaction to them. It's messy, and to our savior functions, it just seems so unnecessary. And so chances are there will be times that you'll just assume that everything is okay until it's not. And that would be at the point that we would logically remove ourselves from a situation because it no longer makes sense to remain. All right, so the problem this causes for us. So the third function of the INTJ is FI, introverted feeling. It is not an expressive function. So by its very nature, it doesn't want to spew its emotions everywhere, okay? Instead, it wants to process inwardly. However, as a more mature person, as you grow as an INTJ, you realize that this third function really does need a level of respect, because if you don't at some point acknowledge your introverted feeling and express it in some ways, explain it, to other people. We'll do a lot of explaining of the emotions with our TE. If we don't explain it in a certain way, how could we expect other people to respect our own FI, the things that we value? That doesn't logically make sense. However, if we can predict that sharing our FI with you will cause you to have an emotional response that will instigate emotional conflict, then we are going to be avoidant of it, which brings us back to the point of the problem that this causes for you. Let's take a moment to triangulate with our INFJ cousins. Now, both INFJs and INTJs have savior NI, introverted intuition, which in a lot of ways is able to very accurately predict how things will turn out with very limited sensory data. And I think some people don't realize that INTJs are very aware of if a situation may result in emotional conflict. I think they think that's reserved for the INFJs. It's not. We can see that too. But the difference is that we are fearful of the emotional conflict. We are very uncomfortable around it. Whereas the INFJs, they don't see it as so foreign, the expression of emotions. It's not like a different spaceship is landing on their sovereign planet like it does for us. So what can you do if you genuinely care about an INTJ and know that this response is pre-programmed into their DNA? Well, one, you can prove that you are in control of your emotions, even when certain situations are triggering to you. Two, you can show that you are willing to maturely and actively solve points of contention versus simply ignoring them once you hear them. Three, understand that if an INTJ is willing to bring up a vulnerable subject that could be emotionally conflicting, it is because they genuinely care about you and the long-term health of your relationship. And they're willing to go through the discomfort in order to have that conversation. And number four, don't take it personally. INTJs don't see people as the root of discontent. It's the things. The things are the root of discontent. Even when it comes to emotions, we aren't scared of you. We're scared of the things, the emotional things, like drunk little elves with knives, tiny knives. And lastly, if you're an INTJ, what can you do? Well, number one, realize that your fear of emotions isn't real. It's your cognitive biases and your functions whispering into your ear and lying to you and telling you that if someone emotionally erupts in front of you, that you're gonna die. It's just gonna be terrible. You're gonna wither away in front of their very eyes. But in fact, you'll be fine. It's gonna be uncomfortable as heck, but you're gonna be okay. Number two, take hits when it's worth it. Listen, I'm not gonna tell you to do something that I am not going to be willing to do myself. So don't go into emotionally conflicting situations when there's no reason behind it. You're not gonna do that. I am definitely not going to do that. However, judge the times that it is worth it. Do your research on vulnerability and then judge for yourself the times in which that hit of potential chaos is actually worth it for the long-term health of your relationships. One that I am continually brainwashing into myself is that avoidance, even emotional avoidance, doesn't teach anybody anything. All right, internet friends, that's it for this video. I hope you learned a little bit about the strangeness that comes with INTJs and emotional conflict. So I'll see you in my next video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. So long. Goodbye.